313, line is 813, holding down for the D. Check out the podcast, featuring Enqi and Hertz, the talk show where we talk about what you want to talk about.
You are live.
What's up, Detroit? It's your girls, Charm 313, line is 813, holding down for the D. Check out the podcast, featuring Enqi and Hertz, the talk show where we talk about what you want to talk about. Detroit. We out here in Hearts for the Hertz to the town. Tune in every Monday. Let's talk about it. Like, comment, follow, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification button to get the latest power of Detroit.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for tuning back in to another episode of Healing Hertz. You already know it's your girls, Detroit Divas. I'm Charm 313.
And I'm Lioness 813.
And we got our lovely guest today. We got Tori T, who's a community advocate and an organizer. And we also got another virtual guest today, guys, Dr. Enqi, who is the founder of the Melanin Diabetes Research and the founder of the 40-Day Fruit Fast, who has also helped over 100,000 people worldwide, y'all. He's also the author of plenty and countless books speaking on the diabetes in the African American community. Okay, you guys, we want to give our guests a big thank you and a round of applause. Okay,
let's go.
Thank you guys. We really appreciate you guys for coming on today. Okay, so Tori, we're gonna give you a quick second. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get over to Dr. Enqi as well.
All right, thank you. My name is Tori, and I am a community activist, advocate, community organizer. I just represent, Black moms and children, families, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for asking me to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks. All right, Dr. Enqi.
Peace. My name is Dr. Enqi. Although today I probably think I'll be here as just a father. I got a lot of experience in that department. I have 10 children, 5 of which I raised by myself. So yeah, I can put both hats on. I can get into my doctor bag, or talk about.
We taking all your bags today. We want all your bags. Every bag you coming out of, we tapping into.
Letting everybody speak on all their accolades today. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, you guys, our topic today is the real reason mothers and babies are dying and the mortality and baby making. Okay, tough topic, but y'all already know we getting into it. Okay,
let's get it. Let's get it. Dr. Enqi, we're gonna let you go ahead with Dr. Enqi, Father Enqi.
Yep.
We're gonna let you go ahead and start us off, and let's get it.
I guess I could just open up the conversation with, lack of information. Lack of information. People don't really have. John Q. Public doesn't really have an idea about how to go about making a baby outside of the obvious, and then take it a step further. Our priority isn't shifted into baby making like that. We kind of I'm not going to say European state of mind, but most of us are brainwashed with the idea that school and job should come first. So a lot of people, they're trying to make babies at 35 years old, 40 years old, when, their equipment is getting rusty. So, if we made a concerted effort to keep our body in top condition till mid-30s to have babies, then that might be something else. But we don't even put that kind of effort in. Most people just have babies by happenstance. You really, you really into the person. So you start going raw, and then bam, baby comes, and it's like, oh man, oh wow, so we here. You keeping the baby? All right, cool. You going to work tomorrow? Yeah, I'm going. All right, boom, and then you back to regular. It's not really much. Like you could prevent a lot of issues in my mind. My humble research, if people decided maybe 6 months to 12 months in advance, we getting ready to have a baby, and, you know, just began to have a healthier space, you know, dedicate a little bit of time to cleaning up their body and doing some different things. And, you know, just making the soil fertile that you're going to plant the seed in before you just throw the seed in any kind of soil. You know what I mean?
So let's before we even get that far deep into the topic, I just like give us a little background about you. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us what gives you the ability to have this conversation. Like, tell us a little bit more.
Okay, so I'm a naturopathic doctor, certified trainer, sports nutritionist. I'm even a certified pet nutritionist. But I think I learned the most about babies, just having babies. You know, I'm really hands-on, and so I got to see, as I learned better, you know, the father process got easier and the dad process got easier. So on one hand, you know, there's science to support, you know, the role that nutrition plays in, you know, reducing the risk of, you know, ectopic or chemical, you know, like just the main issues that women have with, you know, baby making and carrying a baby to full term and all of those different things. And then also in real time, just seeing these things, you know, in real life, you know, off the paper, studying things in you know, in real time. So on both sides, I've been able to see, you know, and then through my practice, you know, I've got to help a few sisters that, you know, the hospital said that they couldn't have babies to have babies just by focusing in on changing, you know, inflammatory signals and things like that happening down in the, you know, so in the womb, you know what I'm saying? I think that we don't really, you know, we say things like womb and, you know, sacred this and yoni and blah, 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 but nobody really invests any time or any money into studying the place that we all come from. You know, how, you know, it seems like it would be the most important thing to study in science, but it's really not. You know, it's more of an afterthought and aftercare, you know, and yeah, a lot
really
of times recreation. Yeah, a lot of times recreation.
It's coming. Yeah, we're getting this information from a man instead of we're women, right? 3 women sitting on the panel, and we're getting this information from a man, which, you know, we're not biased or anything like that, but the dynamics of this right now is just really, it's hitting hard. Like, why aren't we having these conversations? Why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't we educating our youth? Why they don't have ed? What is it? Health ed? What was that used to be in school? Sex ed? Like, we don't have any of those.
They took all of that out of school.
And that's how I got it in real time initially, because my first daughter I had at 14, you know, so I had a different childhood. I already had my own apartment and everything when I was 14 and, you know, had my first daughter. So like I said, I know from the books, the study, the research, the scientific side of it, but then I also,
now, right in this moment, we get to change the world. We get to show the world that we could go gold, we could go platinum with knowledge, information, saving lives. We get to show the world that we can do well by doing right. We get to show the world that we can get rich raising our children. Right now, we get to send a message to the world.
So like I said, I know from the books, the study, the research, the scientific side of it, but then I also know in real time, you know, from just life and, you know, I ain't gonna say making my own mistakes, but just having my own experiences, being able to, you know, prep and do things differently as I learn better.
Yeah, just bumping our head a couple times, right?
Man, sometimes a few more than a couple times.
Yeah, you said you have 10 children?
Yeah.
10? Yeah, you bumped your
started
head.
at 14, definitely. You know what you know.
So what would you say the difference is? So you had a child when you were 14, right? And the difference, so your final child, you would say you had at what age? What would be the difference as far as since we're talking about the yoni and the womb and
hold on, I'm 46. They 8. So 30. Man, I was working.
Had the little reflection, huh?
Man, I was working into my late 30s. So I guess I would say for the man, we got to put just as much work into staying potent, making sure that you can make babies into your late 30s and 40s. But yeah, I would say for the sisters, it's just a lot more important because 99% of the problems are associated with, you have the estrogen issue. So you do have some hormone stuff going on, but a lot of the problems that women are dealing with is based on inflammation and just lack of care for the vagina in general. It's not like when women are getting the perms, for instance, you can start at that young of an age. The first time a woman gets a perm, when she goes to the bathroom for the very first time, it's in the pee, in the urine. You know what I'm saying? And I've been able to also not just learn from my experiences as a father, but I have 7 daughters. So, and I'm, like I said, I'm hands-on with it. You know what I'm saying? So I also got to learn from that side, the dad side, having 7 daughters. Some of this stuff is crazy and you just don't think about what chemicals you putting on your hair. What could that possibly mean to your vagina later on? Or, how your hormone cascade, is going to later on contribute or not contribute to, having fibroids or cysts or any of these things that later on is going to affect you. Or teenage, I don't know about, I don't know what was going on in Detroit, but again, I had my first
you're not
child
from here, right? Where are you from?
Right. New York.
New York. Okay.
New York in the house, y'all.
And so, being sexually active, obviously, all through high school, I saw how they wasn't really pushing condoms in New York. The thing in New York was birth control pills. Like they was pushing birth control on all of the girls in high school. And later on, doing what I do, a lot of those girls had issues with their hormones. Like
they did that in Detroit too.
Yeah.
You know that. They do that in Detroit too. It's Planned Parenthood. They make sure all the girls know about birth control and everything like that. They even push off the condoms and everything like that too. Different skins do different things inside the vaginal canal, causes different little chemical imbalances and all that type of things. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Tori, we're gonna invite you to the conversation.
I was about to say,
I know you're listening. It's like we're like, it's like Dr. Enqi is like we're sitting here watching TV, right? Yeah. So we're watching you. This is our first time, guys. So if you've never seen us, this is our first time ever doing the streaming thing. So go ahead and once we post everything, go ahead and like, subscribe, share, do all of that good stuff we normally do. But so it's kind of intriguing for us to actually be sitting here watching. So if you see us more quiet than we usually are, this is why. It's like we're really watching TV, but we're able to communicate. This is kind of fire. So, so because usually we're really, really active, really, really vocal, and this is.
I appreciate y'all for having me on and facilitating.
This will be the first of many. Just to give you a heads up, this will be the first of many conversations because you got a lot of information to share with us. But let's get Tori. Let's jump in here.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm intrigued by everything that you're talking about. I'm learning. I wanted to add to the conversation by saying I definitely believe that when it comes to birthing and having healthy births and having healthy outcomes, it has a lot to do definitely with diet and what we're putting in on our bodies. I also think that along with that, it's about what's going on around us. On the outside, as Black women, as BIPOC people, Indigenous women, we go through a lot. We are watching our loved ones die around us. I'm talking about stressful situations where, you know, we're concerned about our Black men, our sons, and that causes a lot of stress on us internally.
Yes.
It starts though, even from being a little girl. I mean, I'm a mom of 2 beautiful boys, and I have a wonderful king, my husband.
She does, y'all.
Who I love dearly.
Black queens supporting our Black kings, y'all.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and because I love them so dearly, anything that's going on around me, anything that I'm seeing in the news, anything that happens to them, it affects me internally. And just taking it back to being a little girl, growing up, being a Black girl, growing up, going through different things that were, you know, aggressive situations because I'm Black, or because I look different. That causes stress, that causes anxiety on the body. So it starts even before I was thinking about having babies. And I'm holding that and not even realizing that we're holding that inside of us. And so when it's time to give birth, our wombs are already stressed out, along with like what doctor was talking about, or with the diet that we have. So then let's talk about that a little bit, you know, not to jump around.
You can jump around. Listen, we can do whatever we want to do. We can say whatever we want to say.
Let me say this.
We can come back to it. We can table
Yeah,
it.
no. I definitely want to add on. What you're saying is super important, and it speaks to it speaks to a wide variety of things, but one thing in specific that's becoming like a pet peeve of mine. So generally, because women's sexual organs are dominated by estrogen, everybody gets into their mind that women only have men have testosterone. That's super far from the truth. Men have higher levels of testosterone, but we naturally also have a balance. There's a ratio of estrogen to testosterone, and that's responsible for keeping a lot of things in your body running the way they're supposed to. On the flip side, women have testosterone and estrogen as well, and their testosterone levels are usually way too high or way too low when dealing with, you know, trying to maintain pregnancy and keep their womb healthy, especially the uterus, because you got like a little hose over there, and it kind of makes sure that, like how people put the timer on their sprinklers in the front yard, and so every so often the water, you know, it waters the grass. You have that in your uterus with testosterone. Testosterone is an anabolic hormone, and it keeps things growing. Estrogen is a catabolic hormone, meaning it breaks things down. So your eggs, in order to keep them vibrant and healthy and just in a good space, they got to be sprinkled, you know, with testosterone every so often. And so a lot of the xenoestrogens and, you know, certain things that build up in the system, aromatase, and, you know, in specific to what sister's saying, stress. When you feel that stress coursing through your body, that's a couple of different things biochemically. One of them is cortisol levels going up.
Say cortisol.
Yeah. And so cortisol breaks down the protein, the testosterone, so that way it starts to cripple that little protective mechanism in the uterus and throws off the hormones overall throughout the whole body. So what she's saying is not only real from the point that you can feel it as a Black woman going through it, of course, obviously, but on that biochemical level, you know, having hormone balance is everything if we're talking about pregnancy, and cortisol definitely destroys that balance.
Wow.
So how do we resolve this? How do we get to a point where not just education is put out there, right? From the conversation that we're having right now, but like, what can we do? Like, what are some of the things that we can actually do to combat that or to enhance the ability of? I'm beyond childbearing age, y'all. I'm sorry. I love it, but
You did your time. You did your time.
I needed my time.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but as far as the educational standpoint, like, how do we educate? How do we get this awareness out here? What do we do? What steps can we take? Outside of like eliminating some of the stressors, which is kind of complicated, especially in today's generation, and they have different stressors than we had. Even the men, it seems like everybody is high, right? So I don't know what scientific effect that marijuana has on men and being able to produce, or women being able to produce. But yeah, I'm coming at you. We having a conversation. You know, I gotta come to you.
Like,
I gotta
sperm
know.
count, though. It does say marijuana does.
Yeah, outside of the sperm count, but I'm saying the sperm that it didn't affect or it does affect is going into some woman somewhere. So I'm saying, like, give us a little bit of education on that, like, because people talking like,
here's
it's
the thing.
okay to get high all day, every day.
No. I got you. That was just I wasn't ready. I almost had to say my safe word. Pineapples. I almost, it was
Pineapples.
Yeah. But so here's what I'll say. Harvard ran a good test. Harvard University, they ran a good test, and what they found is that marijuana, cannabis actually boost sperm function in and of itself. So the large problem with people smoking doesn't really come from the cannabis itself in terms of, a lot of the toxic load or what experience people having with their hormones or staying potent. The largest problems come from the wraps. The blunt wrap industry is largely unregulated. Yeah, the blunt wrap industry is unregulated. And, on average, they might have like 3,000 to 4,000 different chemicals in the blunt wrap. Like common sense, I got to tell y'all at home, it's going to take a lot of chemicals to make a cardboard piece of tobacco taste like banana grapes. Like, it's crazy. So that's the first part. And then the second part is it intensifies the ignorance, meaning people typically that already are ignorant to nutrition, they already have a bad diet. When they get high and experience the munchies, they eat the worst food possible.
That's good info. That's good info right there. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So if they didn't have, for instance, you would reduce your risk for side effects if instead of having like the 2 for 99 cent blunt wraps, you had maybe a high quality hemp wrap. You know what I'm saying? Then you would reduce your risk even further from complications if maybe you just used the water bong and had nothing wrapping your cannabis. You just had cannabis.
Straight cannabis.
So what about that? The other part that they do, edible. They eat them.
Eating.
So when you're eating them, I guess you just eat them with regular food. So
you can eat
that, but you get the munchies though. Still, you got to wrestle with the munchies.
Oh, you're still getting the munchies. Yeah, so either way, you're still gonna get the munchies, right?
Yeah.
Whether you use the wrap or not.
Yeah, you still gonna get the munchies.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: if you get the munchies, obviously it's gonna be way better if, instead of eating a whole pack of Oreos and I drink a half a gallon of milk, maybe you had a smoothie instead, or you just it's still the food is still food. So if you had more nutritious food when you have your binge to the fridge, it wouldn't impact you the same way. But typically it's going to be bags full of candy, cookies, cakes. People's not going to brush their teeth after they have all that. They're going to go right to sleep. So. Yeah, because you're not really, when you high like that, you're not really going to bed like, you would put yourself to bed. Yeah, you just crashing. You know what I'm saying? So
it's like
it's those things that compound Yeah, it's those things that really make the problem. The chemicals in the wrap and the food that people consume when they're on the munchies.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, if you knew what, if you understood what was happening, you could use that to your benefit.
Mhm.
Like if people could not eat when they get the munchies, they'll lose weight like this.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what were you going to say, Tori?
I was just saying that marijuana is a stimulant, so that's why you have people that may have cancer or that's on chemo. They may use marijuana so that they can get their appetite back. So that's not a bad thing. It's not the marijuana, like brother said. It's the things that it's being wrapped in, and then all the crap that you eat, like the Cheetos and stopping at the gas station and everything. So it would be good. I always thought about that.
That's education, though. That's really education, right?
Anytime that I've take smoke marijuana, I would just be like, what if I just ate a bowl of pineapples? Would I be good? Like, what I mean? I always thought about, like, could I lose the weight?
See, you hitting the table real hard right now. First of all of those foods, right? So I gave them up. I'm going a couple months strong now, right? And then Charm 313 actually gave up smoking.
Yeah, I gave up
So the marijuana.
Yeah,
So
but in my final days of marijuana, I was doing that, eating fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, because I was like, dang, I want to program this, because the reason I was eating all that junk was because I was already ill mind. So of course I was going to eat ill like food. So once I started educating myself and doing it, I started doing it that way, but it was still like, let me put that down.
Yeah, it's not necessarily if we partake, it's just a matter of how. How we go about partaking.
What they say is more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, lots of.
The whole thing is your body has a endocannabinoid system, and so a lot of times people talk about cannabis or marijuana in regard to the endocannabinoid system your body has, and they go, "Oh, we're supposed to use because we have," and it's not that. When you're taking omega-3s, that's for your cannabinoid system. That's what that's where the bridge is in terms of cannabis. Your body creating its own internal cannabinoids. So the same compounds cannabis, the plant, your body produces naturally. So anytime you get enough omega-3s or DHA, which people get from sea vegetables or fish oil, things like that. That's what your body does to quiet the inflammation and some of those other things that, So you got one side where it stimulates your appetite by, increasing the melanin concentrating hormone in the brain. But then on the other side, it also quiets your inflammatory system, So there's benefits to cannabis, Now, on the flip side, like I said, you can make those same cannabinoids naturally without cannabis, just by managing your healthy fats. But
so how do you manage that? How do you, like, we having this conversation? Let's give it to them. Like, how do we manage that?
You just got to make sure. Yeah, you just got to make sure you get a lot of omega-3s in. You got to have a healthy balance.
I don't eat fish except for tuna and salmon. Would that get me there, or do I need to take a supplement, or like
you're probably going to need a supplement. Most people it's easier to just take a supplement because you're probably not eating enough fish, and most people definitely don't eat sea vegetables. So yeah, it would be a good idea to just.
So what's a sea vegetable? Give me an example.
Kelp.
Yeah, you're different.
Yeah.
Yep. Your kelps, your bladderwracks, your chondrus crispises, your
Wait, say that again. What you say? Congress Christmases. That's what I heard.
Chondrus crispus. So a lot of people are familiar with the name Dr. Sabi, and so Dr. Sabi talked about sea moss, right? But the thing with sea moss is sea moss. So first things first is there's no such thing actually as sea moss.
Exactly.
Sea moss is a nickname for algae, and so when it comes to the algae kingdom, there's literally hundreds of thousands of different types of algae out there.
Yeah,
and it's only one particular type that Dr. Sabi was talking about, which was Chondrus crispus.
I did it, y'all.
So is that included within CMOS? Is that what the big
chondrostritis is a type of CMOS. Yeah, it's a type
just
of
a type of CMOS. And where do you find that at? Where do you get that at?
Well, of course, we have it on the website, AmericanHealer.website.
Okay,
But,
so we're gonna make sure we put his website or the website where we need to get it, guys. We're gonna tag it down in the sub comments.
You said it's the what website?
My next book.
What's the website? Give us that website first.
AmericanHealer.website. It's not .com, it's actually .website.
We got you. We follow.
But yeah, I got a book coming out.
What's the book? You got a book coming out? When is it coming out? And what does it talk about?
It's gonna be out next week, and it's gonna be talking about the CMOS in specific.
Okay, so
What's
giving
the
us
name
a
of the
little
book?
bit more detail.
There's a whole series that are already available on Amazon. It's Melanin versus Diabetes Research. Melanin versus Diabetes Research. Book 1, Book 2, and Book 3 are available right now on Amazon.
So this doesn't just talk about diabetes, right?
No, it talks about Black genetics overall. I mean, it talks about a lot of things that we kind of need to learn in order to, in the last book, we went over everything and like a lot of things related to mental health and, being able to make our children perform better in school,
So the
being
title
able to
of it is
strengthen our memory
diabetes.
as we age,
Melanin versus diabetes research.
Say that one more time. Stripping what?
the Melanin versus Diabetes Research, and the one that's based on mental health is Book 2.
Okay.
But it's covering all forms of melanin research and diabetes in relationship to one another. Type 2 diabetes for a long time, people associated with African Americans or Blacks, and there was no real research done on the reason why.
Exactly.
Because they would tell you, oh, it's it's hereditary, blah blah blah, but there's no genes. There's no genes right. There's no genes for the to support lifestyle habits. So the question really became, where is this coming from? And so I just kept looking into it, and then I started to find, where the anomalies were in all of the scientific reports in the journals. And I realized it was based on our melanin system. So one of the first discoveries we made was, melanin concentrating hormone, which is a, hormone that your brain produces, but it's in charge of regulating the insulin and glucose in your body. So when I first started talking about this to people, I'm talking about even nurses, doctors, health professionals, they was like, what's melanin concentrating hormone? That's not a real thing. You just made that up. Problem right there. The fact that you saying that you never heard of that. Yeah, I'm like, the fact that you saying you never heard of that. That's the hormone that's responsible for insulin and glucose management. It's a no-brainer that we have a widespread, epidemic of people having problems with it.
We having sex soon as I get my bitch back. It ain't only sexy when I get my lick back. I'm about to mop up some boys, it's custodian time. Me and my thoughts is the loneliest time. Don't tell me about loyalty, show me this time. Don't tell me about loyalty, show me this time.
Been nurses, doctors, health professionals, they was like, what's melanin concentrating hormone? That's not a real thing. You just made that up.
Wow.
I mean, they ain't even reading their textbooks.
Man, so I'm like, that's the problem right there. The fact that you saying that you never heard of that. Yeah, I'm like, the fact that you saying you never heard of that. And that's the hormone that's responsible for insulin and glucose management. It's a no-brainer that we have a widespread, epidemic of people having problems with insulin and glucose management. We acting like the gene that produces this hormone don't exist. And so
that's interesting because that's the reason why I stopped eating sweets. Like, that's why I was giving that up, because my grandmother, I was 22 when she passed away, and well, almost 22. And she passed away from diabetes. And I just remember her giving herself insulin shots every single day from the day I can ever remember, like as far back as I can remember. And her always saying to eat grapefruits, right? She would have a grapefruit every single day, but yet she still succumbed to, you know, the diabetes and ended up passing away from it. So more recently than not, it's just been something that was on my mind, thinking like it was something hereditary, you know, and not understanding that it has other factors and dynamics that actually go with it as well. So that's what made me stop doing that. And so I got to read the books. Y'all got to read the books too.
Yeah, that right there is also in I think that's in book 3. I just mentioned grapefruit. to cut down on grapefruits, because grapefruit is a part of the grapefruits is a part of the problem. So going back to our earlier conversation with pregnancy, when your body's estrogen and testosterone levels get off, you know, your liver is a part of the fixing squad. Right. And so your liver will help metabolize, you know, and, you know, break, you know, get the levels back together. And grapefruit actually stops estrogen from being metabolized or broken down.
Wow.
So,
you know,
so the more grapefruit you eat, the higher those estrogen levels go, and it'll start to mess with your hormones overall. So,
wow,
interesting.
Yeah. So,
that's interesting, because a lot of diets, even some of the diets that are put out by a lot of our own, I cannot stand great. I hate.
They don't know what they're doing,
but I love it. And so I'm always skipping.
Respectfully, they just don't know what they're doing. The one, you know, here's the thing, and that's crazy. The conversation's going this way, but one of the things I talk about is here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you where the synchronicity is coming in, because I was just talking about the biggest problem with today's you know, like holistic fitness, wellness side of health is the business itself. It's becoming so much of a trendy thing. People are looking at it as a fast way to make money. So it's becoming hard to distinguish between the people who are just, you know, regurgitating and reposting things that they saw somewhere else. You know, like they saw on somebody else's page, oh, grapefruits is good. And they, you know, they see a lot of people posting close-up pictures of grapefruit and, you know, stuff like that on their social media page. So now they go to repost it and they post, oh yeah, well, grapefruit is good for helping you, you know, manage your weight and blah, blah, blah. And you don't realize how, you know, your body is like a chemistry laboratory. You know, it's one thing to talk about the nutrients in a food isolated from your body or from other foods, but you know, in order to really try to sculpt your body or get any specific results with diet or exercise, you kind of got to tailor whatever it is that you're doing to your specific needs and goals, kind of. So in one person where they might just be looking to slim down at all costs, you know, they might have a little bit of, you know, this might be a woman, you know, she might have a little hair on her chin or a little bit of hair on her top lip. So she might not even know that she might have high levels of testosterone. So now she goes on some grapefruits and she notices she has amazing results because her estrogen levels was already low. So when she started having the grapefruit, it brought her estrogen levels back to normal. So she lit. She like, yeah, you can't tell me nothing bad about grapefruit. But now you got a sister who don't have no problems with her hormones. She's perfectly fine. Her estrogen and testosterone is good. But guess what? She saw the other sister's Instagram page and she said, oh, she lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. So I'm gonna go ahead and give me some grapefruit too. So now she starts taking the grapefruit, and she noticed she getting cranky. You know, she's not really losing weight. She's actually gaining a little few pounds, and she confused and she don't know what's happening. She's like, "What's this?" When you boost estrogen levels, you also boost cortisol levels. When you boost cortisol levels, you boost your body's blood sugar. So, and this is the little game that cortisol can play. Yeah, because cortisol will boost the sugar. Then when the sugar level's high, cortisol will put it into your fat cells. So your fat cells get larger. You're not eating no food, but cortisol is going to make you get fatter all by itself.
Wow.
Now, the larger your fat cells get, the more estrogen they produce. The more estrogen you got coming out, the more cortisol, the more cortisol, the more sugar, the more sugar, the more fat, the more fat, the more estrogen. And so you start this little nasty cycle. Yeah, so you kind of got to know, you know, what you're trying to do. And
so how do we find out these levels? What do we do to find out what all of the different levels are? Is that something we go to a medical doctor to find out? Is there
you could go. Yeah, you could definitely go to a doctor, or you could order the little at home. They got at home test kits where you do the saliva and mail it in, and you know, so they got a lot of different little cheat codes for people to find out what their levels are, their hormone levels, and you know, just
so before taking any of the supplements or different things like that, we should figure out what
I mean, it depends. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Like that's the main thing is,
I do anyway already, but I'm just saying, like,
in general, in general, for the people at home, it depends on what you're trying to do. Like, there's certain things that's beneficial for everybody. You know, if you haven't been exercising and you know, sitting around, you ain't got to wait to get checked out to find out you need to start moving around. You know what I mean? But if you're eating a lot of junk food, you know, you can cut down on the junk food. You know what I'm saying? But specific things, especially that you're going to just do long term, you know, you might want to know, you know, like people have this obsession with vinegar. You know, like, oh, I'm about to
tell
go
us
on
a little bit about
it,
because vinegar and apple cider vinegar, that's a hot topic, is out here.
Yeah, apple cider vinegar is not good for you.
Oh, you coming against what everybody out here saying right now? Everybody's saying like you need the apple cider vinegar. Help us out.
Yeah, because they're just making stuff up. They don't know what they're talking about. You got to ask them why. What's the benefit? What's the chemical? Look, here's the questions. What's the chemical composition of apple cider vinegar? Like, how is apple cider vinegar made, and what's in it? And what of those things do I actually need in my body that I don't already have or can't get somewhere else? You know, because most people, if they find out how apple cider vinegar is made, it's you know, it's like bacteria soup. Yeah. You know, it's you know, it's like letting the apple get rotten on your table and then drinking it. Like if people thought of it that way, it wouldn't be a trend. It would not be a trend. Like, just go get some apples, let them go rotten in a cup, you know, sit them on your counter, let them go rotten, and then drink the fluid of all of the bacteria and fungus that appears on your apple as they breaking your apple down and urinating and vomiting.
That's the mother in the bottom of a glass bottle. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Exactly.
Is that why it tastes so bad?
It's potent, baby.
I know. It's not really, you know, the whole thing is, and this is kind of where the science of vaccines originates, right? We kind of approach it from a different angle called hormesis training. But any poison, if you can take any poison in a very small amount of it, it will stimulate. It's a healthy stimulus for your body's immune system. So it's like sparring. But people confuse taking a diluted toxin for something nutritious just because it gives you you might notice some benefit from it. You know, there's other healthier ways to get the results that people are having with apple cider vinegar.
So your books, they talk about that, right? They talk about all of the different healthier ways that we can actually get healthy.
Well, the main thing is I stress figuring out how your body works. That's the main thing. Because once we figure out how our body works, then again, we'll know what we want to put in when we want to put it in. MSG, a lot of people have issues with their memory, or they want their children to be better students. But on the flip side, MSG tastes so good, and that's just an example. You know what I'm saying?
So it's all in the books, though. We can find all that information.
Yeah.
Covered it all in all of them.
Yeah,
So, Tori,
it's a lot of.
We got a good plate.
That's on Amazon. They go to Amazon.
What did you get a chance to eat off this plate?
So as I'm listening and taking it all in and taking notes too, I'm like, I gotta get those books. I'm thinking with the population that I work with on a daily basis of my people, we have a desire to be healthy. We want to be healthy. We want to eat right, right? But I think that I can speak for Detroit. In my community, it's the access. Yeah. Because to the healthy food, you're gonna have a certain amount of people that are like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna eat what I want. My mom did it, my grandma, and they cool. But then you have a large number of us, because see, that's a myth when people think that Black people don't want to eat good and don't want to eat right. It's the access to the food. And so I think that if we take a deep dive into even just the community that we're in right now, and you go around the neighborhoods to try to see how many community gardens are there, right? What are our grocery stores looking like? What is around us? So you see a lot of fast food. You go into the grocery stores, the food there is either expired or something's going on with it. It's not as healthy as if you were to go out to the suburbs. And then you don't see any community gardens, right?
And so it is, they are trashed over.
Right. So I think that the key to this, so that we can go by what our dear doctor is saying, because he's speaking truth. And in order for us to really get to that truth, and it's going to be having that access. So what do we do as a community to get that access? Then we have to take a stand, and we have to start sharing information. So for example, my husband and I, we resurrected a community garden in the 48202 area code for that community. We took a look, we did our research and saw that food access was a problem. And there was a lot of diabetes. And, I want to just real quick, and Doctor, thank you so much for saying what you said about diabetes, that it is not just in our genes, like people want to say it is. They want to make
it in our mind.
They want to make it belong to us as Black people, as Indigenous people. And it doesn't belong to us. The reason why, exactly, he explained it so plainly, is the cortisol. And I didn't know this, doctor, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say that the cortisol is what does what to the sugar? Or it does something?
It raises your blood sugar levels.
It raises the blood sugar levels. So if the cortisol level is going up, why? Because we're stressed, we're anxious. And then it raises our blood sugar levels, which then causes the diabetes. That's why doctors and researchers are trying to pin that on us, because of all the stress that we are going through in our neighborhoods, and all the stress that we're going through in our communities, everything that we're seeing around us. I mean, let's look at what we just saw in Alabama.
Wow.
I mean, power to the people, right? But at the same time, that was a stressful situation to watch that brother get beat down by all everybody that's on the boat or on the yacht, all the brothers and sisters that jumped in, all their cortisol levels are up and have been up, because that's what we do. We go up because that's what we've been going through anyway.
Right. 0 to 100 real quick.
I'm just saying that as an example, that cortisol, that is
real. A lot of especially young Black men, a lot of young black men, it's you dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder every time you see them lights light up behind you when you driving and you see them lights.
Listen,
I used to
Not
be
just
one of them.
men,
I was
look,
gonna say, I used to be
Yo.
one of those too.
It might be a fire truck or anything going in a whole nother direction. You just
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas our white counterparts, they don't have that stress like that.
At
Not
all.
for real. When we hear a siren, when we see a cop, it's stressful for us. Whether it's like, I don't want you talking to my kid, I don't want you talking to me, or are you coming to get me? Are you coming? But our white counterparts don't have that same stress that we
Okay.
do. So of course, those diseases aren't going to be pinned on them as much as us. And it starts with exactly what the doctor said when he first came on, is education. And not just education amongst us in the community,
Yeah.
but educating the doctors as well.
Yes.
And not being afraid to educate them.
Yeah.
Because
And
I'm
quit
gonna
just
say
passing
something.
them on.
When we were talking about the melanin, right?
Mhm.
And we said it's scary and frightening if the doctors don't know this information.
Mhm.
But I dare to ask, do they know and just don't want to look
to know.
deeper into it
right.
and just don't want us to know? That's
Yes.
Well,
the
for the-
questions we need.
for the
to
most
ask.
part, I would say
They say
for the
a
most
cure
part, I would say
can
that
money lost.
well, no. In a lot of different situations, they'll look the other way for profit. But
Mhm.
in this specific instance,
Mhm.
because regardless of how much people think the world is changing now or not,
Mhm.
we still have to deal with institutionally has been already set forward 50 years, 100 years, 200 years ago. So
Okay.
most of the school textbooks don't really have much information in them, period, on how melanin functions.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
I was
something
gonna
about
say
school
it's
textbooks.
a
You're right about
difference
that.
too, because I went to two different. So I ain't gonna disclose too many schools, but I've been to enough schools to understand that in certain demographic areas, the
This is
textbooks
it.
books will have the
How
same
different.
Change the
title,
world right
but
now.
told
Right in this moment, we get to change the world. We get to show the world that we could go gold, we could go platinum with knowledge, information, saving lives. We get to show the world that we can do well by doing right. We get to show the world that we can get rich raising our children.
Textbooks don't really have much
Right
information
now,
in them,
we get to
period,
send
on
a
how
message to
melanin
the
functions.
world.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
I was
something
gonna
about
say
school
it's
textbooks.
a difference
Rewrite
too, because I
the
went to
biochemistry
I
and
went to two
neurochemistry
different-
textbooks around
so
the globe.
I ain't gonna disclose
This is
too
our
many
moment.
schools, but I've been to enough schools to understand that in certain demographic areas, the textbooks will have the
Are
same
different.
title, but totally
different.
different curriculums inside of these books.
Yeah.
Like when you opening up these hardcover copies, if you go into a certain area where it's predominantly maybe, I don't know, Caucasian or Arabian or whatever it is, they have totally different dialogue than they do in the African American setting. And it's a lot of things that are missing in those books. Look, don't
That's a
kill the
fact.
messenger, y'all. I'm just telling y'all.
Don't
what I
worry
know.
about
It's
it. Facts
okay.
are facts.
But I'm
Truth
just
is
telling
truth.
y'all what it was and what I've seen and what I've read in these classes that I have taken. So I know what's the truth right now. And
Yeah,
but
a
true.
lot of-
These books are totally
a
different
lot
with
of
the
the,
same exact titles on them.
Yeah, a lot of the most of that I saw, like in the biochemistry textbooks,
Yes.
is that melanin simply is a waste product of
Mhm.
dopaminergic neurons. So they just say, dopaminergic neurons in the process of producing dopamine, they make a waste product called melanin, and that will be the end of the discussion right
Yep.
there. So a
Yep.
lot of the doctors, they never really heard of melanin stimulating hormone, melanin concentrating hormone, proprio opio melanocortin, or pro opio melanocortin. pro-melanin concentrating hormone genes. Like this is a part of your whole neurochemistry and your biochemistry that is unexplored largely. And so when I found
Why
out
would
that
they want you to know?
Exactly.
right, and that system is the system that's responsible for your blood sugar. So the fact that your melanin system is responsible for your blood sugar, and there's no, it's just like a big blank space in organized, or institutionalized medicine. It's like a no-brainer that there would be a mass epidemic associated with that missing information, and it just so happens that nobody is really going to look to fix that problem because it only affects us, so it's us that have to. And so my father used to tell me, if you're looking for a book to read and that book doesn't exist, it's your job to write that book.
Wow.
So that's kind of how we got, to the, melanin versus diabetes research and putting out the books and,
wow.
because
Interesting.
Can I ask you a question about melanin? Because
sure.
Like you said, it's not a lot of information out there, and the information that is starting to come about is from our own, our own people, our own brothers and sisters. So it is located in the pineal gland. Is that correct?
No.
I just read okay. All right.
So there's a lot of pseudo information out there coming from our people as well that just want to like pulpit kind of science, where you're just saying things to make people that may be, feeling depressed feel good about themselves. Like, okay, we know we dominant with the melanin, so people are just making up all kind of, no, the melanin doesn't have really that. What you have in your pineal gland are little crystals, calcium crystals that help your body translate light and sound. Outside of that, what your pineal gland does is convert serotonin into melatonin. And so people may confuse melanin with melatonin.
Interesting.
So the pineal gland is more associated with melatonin, which is also another important, hormone / neurotransmitter kind of thing that people don't really get. It's not really that much information out there floating around about it, so people don't really know. Like
we're gonna keep floating you around.
But also you get people say your pineal gland is calcified, and they don't know that it's supposed to be calcium crystals inside your pineal gland. That's how it works. The same thing, like you got calcium crystals inside your ears to convert sound into digital information that your brain could then reinterpret.
The way I explain it is like a reflection. Like, this is a reflection. This is how you see light and sound, and this is how you hear sound. So it has to hit that mirror and reflect back out so that you can hear or see it as the way it's.
So you need a digital. You need a digital signal.
Exactly.
And so that's what piezoelectricity is. It takes mechanical, or pressure, and turns that into a digital signal.
Yeah.
So, but your melanin is going to be produced in your neurons that produce dopamine. Those are the neurons that primarily have the brain melanin. That's neuromelanin. Then you have melanin all throughout your skin, which is totally separate from your neuromelanin. The brain.
Oh my goodness.
Now, is the melanin in your skin connected with carbon, right? Connected with the carbon beings more?
Here's the thing with that. That's also misinformation. That's misinformation. Yeah. Every single pigment is carbon based. Exactly. So it's not like it's just like people say it. They make it sound as if melanin is the only carbon-based pigment. That's not. Every pigment, whether it's hemoglobin, because your blood is also pigment. It's hemoglobin is pigment. The pigments in your eye, rhodopsin, melanopsin, panopsin, those are all, carbon-based pigments.
Okay.
Chlorophyll is also a carbon-based pigment. Zeaxanthins, the vitamin A's are all, so they're all carbon-based pigments. Carbon is the thing that makes things tangible, so to speak.
Okay.
Like if you look at a fruit, for instance. A fruit is a carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are made of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Oxygen and hydrogen is not something you could see or touch. So it's the fact that they're attached to the carbon, which turns them into something that you can see and touch.
Okay.
So it's just the binding element to make things that's not seen able to be seen and touched. And it is. The early periodic tables was based in alchemy. So it's it's definitely that's the blackness. That's
I know a little something.
She know a little something. She be over there. I told y'all she be hiding out. Y'all don't sleep on her. Don't sleep on her. Y'all don't sleep on her. She act like she quiet. She act like she. Y'all better listen. Y'all gonna learn something. Give them something to eat.
She just be waiting to pick her subject. She be waiting to pick her subject so she can go in.
That's it. She pick and choose. Yes. So we're not gonna hold you too much longer. We're gonna go ahead and give you back some of your day with those 5 babies. But we would love for you to give us a closing statement. Just give us something we can feed off of, and we definitely gonna have you back on another show. Probably both of you guys together again. It just works. Because we don't know, y'all know.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't know. Check me out right here with the Detroit Divas. You know what I'm saying? Doing our thing over here. The books are on Amazon, Melanin vs. Diabetes. And
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on to our show.
Yes,
we appreciate having you. And what about you, Tori? What you got?
Just as a doctor said, it's all about education. And also, I just want to leave everybody with coming together and really being a community, being collaborative, and start your community gardens, y'all. Start right there.
We're not lunch, bro. I know niggas on that I stand by it, I guarantee it. That's what you want, bro.
Cardiologist Dr. Scott Davis, thanks for being here with us this morning. So push-ups, explain this for us. How does this work?
Drop Blue Magic, right? So interesting study. So the smart people at Harvard did a study. They looked at a group of firefighters in the state of Indiana. And so they had 1,100 men, okay, that they studied over a 10-year period. And the average age was about 40 years old, so it wasn't a 25-year-old.
This is it. We get to change the world right now.
This is a backup from what I did last week with Minister Stinky Enqi.
It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, you heard?